It's a translation of the Coptic, which most of us can't read, at least not sight read. And so it's going to be influenced by the author. And one of the great things about it is this author, I think, has a good sense of what this gnostic gospel is about. So if you're in a hurry, read the introduction, jump to the next. It has the Coptic in the front, jump back to the commentaries in the back. I think you can get through the reading assignment for each week in a fairly short period of time. But hopefully, if you're doing this book study with everybody, you'll take a little bit of time to let it sink in what the text is saying, because it's not the length of it, and it's not like a lot of text, especially modern self-help books that give you the idea and then give you 5 examples of it. This is just the idea. And so you want to deepen into it by feeling into it, really. So that's how it will go. We'll do 5 different Sundays, and hopefully you'll have 5 meetings with your group. And each one of those Sundays will have about 5 sayings that we're talking about. So that's probably a grand total of about 12 pages to read. Even I can do that. So I hope you'll do that. I want to start with this idea that the Gnostic gospel, the Gospel of Thomas, is not a canonical gospel. In other words, it's not in the standard Bible, the canon. The canon is, it means orthodox, the Orthodox Bible. And most of us have had a Bible in our lives, and we've seen Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and we know those are the Gospels. And that was pretty much the way it was, with some minor heretical Gospels out there, until Nag Hammadi came along in 1945, and they uncovered this Gospel among many other texts, about 20 different books. It had been hidden for close to 1,500 years at that point. And the gospel isn't like the other gospels. The other gospels really start by telling a story, and then they put sayings in there. Well, this is just sayings. There's no story. There's no Jesus was born in Bethlehem. There's no crucifixion. There's no feeding the 5,000. There's none of that. This is a book about gnosis, Gnosis, meaning knowledge. So in the East, you can be a Jnani, and a Jnani is an awakened being. And the awakened ones, the Jnana, that's the same root word used for gnosis. So we're talking about knowing, but it's not about knowing math, it's about knowing the self, the high self, the one presence as you. And gnosis is the object of the book. It's the object of the sayings, to trip your mind into the discovery of what has already always been within you, this knowing. We have become dazzled by the mundane and not being able to see it. We have kept ourselves at a certain level of understanding, but this knowing is always already in you. It is just to be awakened. That's why it's called awakening, not building yourself. You're not becoming something, you are awakening to it. It's like you were dreaming and all that was fine, and now you awaken and take the blue pill, right? That's what we've decided to do. Now, so it's a heart game. It's not so much a head game. It's a being thing. It's not a doing thing. It's presencing, it's not thinking about it. So presencing, when you're fully in the presence, you're being the presence, there's a power, a grace, and a stillness that comes to you when you do that. It's like, for whomp, you're the presence. And extending that presence through all your life is part of the practice of deepening into who you really are. And this is not antithetical to the canonical Bible. It is an addition. But it is a bit different, because it doesn't ask you to believe something, it asks you to be something. So many times the question is, do you believe in Christ? Do you believe in Jesus? I've never quite gotten why that was so important. I believe in a lot of things. They don't change my life too much. What it really should be saying is, are you moving toward becoming a Christ? Are you moving toward becoming a Christ? Are you on the path? That's what the question should be, not do you think there was a Jesus who was a special guy some time ago. Are you on the path? And if you are on the path, are you getting somewhere? Those are much bigger questions, in my opinion, than do you believe? Because I'm not of the sin salvation paradigm, if you know what I mean. Sin, either you're born in sin or you have sinned. Generally, you're just a sinful person. And without a Savior, life's not going to turn out very well after you die. On the other hand, it could be that you are a sleepy person, and without awakening, you're going to have a mundane existence. Which do you prefer? The sin salvation paradigm or this awakening paradigm? It's really every religion has a paradigm. Everyone does. It's like bowling. They set up the problem and then they knock it down, right? So in Christianity, it's sin. Sin's the problem. Salvation, the cross, is a strike. In Buddhism, it's the other way. It's a bit different. It's ignorance is the problem, and coming to gnosis is the answer. In Hinduism, you got several ways to fix the problem. But karma is the problem, and then you do all these things to either wipe it out, overcome it, or reverse it. In Gnosticism, it's about being the presence. It's about gnosis, the knowing by being that which you seek to have, the divine, becoming that. So I was in a Presbyterian seminary, and I was in my second year, and I think I'd started doing the Unity as my internship. So Presbyterian seminary Unity internship. And they were okay with that until I went to a cocktail, well, actually they just stayed okay with it, but I went to a cocktail party kind of thing, a little reception, and I was telling my New Testament professor that I was doing my internship at Unity. And he was a taller man than I, and somehow went to even greater heights as he moved closer to me to tell me that that was Gnosticism. And I said, yeah, you're right, it is. So there's several forms of Gnosticism, and maybe what he was really against was that some forms of Gnosticism really are more like dualism. They're about dualism, light and shadow, and more kind of out of another form of Eastern thought that is more light and dark and pays attention to that. Well, this Gnosticism we're talking about is more about gnosis, which is not a formal form of way of like doctrine, but it is more about being. Again, it's not about doctrine. Doctrine is for those who can't be. If you can't be one, talk about it, right? But we're trying to go to the point where we're having the experience. So here on the second of these sayings, and these sayings, in my humble opinion, are not exactly set up to be read one after the other. They could be, you could jump around as much as you want. You could do like I often do in the morning when I want to know something. I go, must be in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. You know, start that way. But listen to this one. Yeshua, that's how they say Jesus in this text. Yeshua said, whoever searches must continue to search until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed. And being disturbed, they will marvel and will reign over all. So let's talk about that for a minute. Seek until you find. So I'm pretty sure that it's a longer process than most of us thought at the beginning. Is it not true? We got into this whole spirituality thinking, I think I can get this, right? Or I've got a problem and I'd like it fixed, and I think this might be the answer. So one of the things that drives us all here is that something can go right in our movie. So the movie we've been watching of our lives, it's in the tragic phase of some sort, right? Broke up with somebody, lost our job, health went downhill, money is disappearing, you name it, the biggies. In the movie of our life, something's not working according to our, and we go, hey, I've heard spirituality might be a solution to this. And so you come over to the spirituality camp going, maybe I can get this fixed. I was meeting with somebody just recently, came in to talk to me. She's been on the path, seriously on the path for about 5 years, and everything was in the toilet. And it dawned on me, listening to her, yeah, you're about halfway down the road to really having it work out. It takes about 10 years. And for those of you who are just starting out, I guess we won't be seeing you again, but but it takes about 10 years to kind of make that journey. You go from like indifferent to interested and to compelled to like struggling. You are disturbed in that process. There's no doubt about it. It's sometimes your life can be going along and you don't have to change that much, but many people, things happen to them in the process. Certainly emotionally things happen to people. One of the things when I was in ministerial school, when I got in both ministerial schools, they preach this. You're going to fall apart while you're here. That's a given. So make some friends so they can hold you up while you're falling apart. It's going to happen. Get a little group together, stick with them, and don't flee when it happens. And sure enough, it happens to everybody. It's really kind of unnervingly predictable. So if you're starting your journey or into your journey part way and things are not going very well, cut yourself some slack. That's the way it goes. Not a bad thing, just part of it. But one of the things that will happen as it begins to unfold to you, it will begin to become apparent that everything you thought you knew needs to be reversed and go the other way. It goes the other way, so as a kid, you're growing up and they teach you how to build your capacity to influence the world by manipulation and by effort. You become really dedicated to success and all of that. And one of the reason why people come here after it falls apart is that somehow you did everything right or as best you could and it didn't turn out that well. One of the things you realize is that what we have been doing in the first half of our life is trying to adjust the movie screen. And what's really tricky about it is you can have some success adjusting the movie screen. The self-help books wouldn't be selling if we didn't think that was possible, that we could move some of the parts around and make it happen. Now, hard work and learning and dedication to your job can make your job successful, but it can't necessarily make your life successful. To make your life successful, you need to realize that that's a screen out there. It is not you. To really make your life successful, you need to be knowing that you're watching this movie and all the details in it are out there, but who you are sits here in the throne of awareness, and that is who you are, not that. If you don't get that, then all the vicissitudes of life will just take you by the short and curlies and yank you up and down. That's the way it is. And we get those difficult times so that we will wake up, or we don't, and we just repeat, rinse, and repeat, and do it again. It's time for all of us to get this deeply, that what we see in the world around us, what we hear, what we can think, what we can feel, not you. Not you. But, well, it is sort of you, okay? I won't deny it completely, but just think about it. There's a higher and deeper aspect of you. So let's take the Grand Canyon. In the Grand Canyon, there are multiple layers of rocks. If you've ever seen it, you know, they start at 225 million years old, and they go all the way down to 2 billion years old in the deepest part of the Grand Canyon. And most of consciousness, for most people, most of the time, we have chosen to be in this slice. It's not the very most frivolous. It's not the lowest. It's just a slice in there. Tapete sandstone, for those of you who know the rocks of the Grand Canyon. Say, let's hear the Tapete sandstone. It's an interesting rock formation, laid down in sheets, more or less, but curved, and it's got some texture. It's pretty interesting. It's nice to be there. It's a lovely layer of rock, but it's not everything, right? It's about 600 million years ago. Pretty old, not real old. Down below that, there's something that's 2 billion years old. Now, this is who we're looking for right now. The 2 billion-year-old self. The self that was here before you were born. The one that will be here after you die. The one that is in contact with all that is. The one that is not lonely and is not sad about watching the movie. It's just watching the movie. Something that transcends your life, something that endures beyond your life, that which is divine. That's what we want. We don't want to be stuck as a Tapete sandstone. We want to be everything. We want to be the Grand Canyon, not some irrigation ditch of a person. We want the full depth of who we are. And so, yes, seek. And the seeking takes a while for most of us. Those stories, those irritating stories of gurus who wake up one morning and they've got it together for the rest of their life. They just ruin the rest of us. Right? Ramana Maharshi, 14 or 17 years old, lies down on his uncle's law firm floor and wakes up and never loses it the rest of his life. That ain't fair. So relax. It's going to take a while for most of us. We're going to wake up, but it's not going to be like that. Right? That's okay. I like the struggle anyway, don't you? I was going to say it makes a man out of you, but usually it takes the man right out of you before it's done with you. So let me read it again. Yeshua said, whoever searches must continue to search until they find, and when they find, they will be disturbed, and being disturbed, they will marvel. So now it's the fun part. And then they will marvel. And then you will go, oh my God, I am not needy. I am not weak. I am not lonely. I'm not unloved. I am not embarrassed about who I am. Everything's okay. So last week, for those of you who were here, who were not here, we had a woman come who had had a couple of near-death experiences, Yvonne Sneeden, and she talked about that. And I talked to her before and after she was here, and it just she repeats the same message when she talks to you about it. Essentially, there's nothing to worry about. That if you have died and already gone and seen the afterlife, you will realize that we're okay. That we don't die. That the dying is a transition for sure, but it's not the end of us. That we were somewhere before we were born, and we will be somewhere after we die. And that this love that is in the other world is so profound that everything we have gone through here, this sense of isolation, struggle, and separateness, and the feeling of being small and not powerful enough to handle our lives, etc., that stuff will pass. And we will be held in the arms of the divine or the angels or the higher beings, and they will tell us that we are loved and special just like we are. We never, never have not been, that nothing we could do would keep us from that love, and that was always already true. And she will tell you that over and over, that not to worry. So if you know you can't lose a game, if you know there's nothing you can't lose, you will marvel at what's going on. It's just what's going on. It is the beauty, it is the display of light and shadow, and all that is horrible and all that is beautiful, it's all going on, but you're okay. You're in the arms at depth, in the real truth of who you are. You're in the arms of the beloved all the time. There's a poem by Hafiz, Emily talked about the sun. There's a poem by Hafiz that says, I think it goes like this: I am drunk with ecstasy. Come kiss me. The divine wants you close. He wants to kiss you. It wants to be you. He wants you to know you are it. Yes, we will marvel at some point. It will come to us and we'll go, oh, look, there it is. All this time. There it is. It was right here all the time. I was already it. I didn't know it, but now I see it. I was it, and it was me, and it loves me. And I have nothing to fear. The promise of spirituality is actually possible. All your troubles may go away. Because they move from being you being just in the play, just on the screen. You cease to just be an actor in this unfolding, and you become the witness and the being presence that holds it, and the container for it. You become the theater and the director and the projector and the witness. And I think really we kind of start at it from several different directions. We can start at it from the witness perspective, or we can start at it from being a powerful being. And so many of us work on our affirmations and denials. We work on shifting our consciousness, what's contained within the consciousness. We work on changing that to the point where we can feel that there's more to us than this body or mind or emotions. We can feel that there's a power that moves through us that is able to affect the screen that we're looking at. Some of us start that way. We want to make it happen, and we use the power of spirit to do that. That's one way. And other people come at it through the idea of witness. I want to know, I want to see, I want to step back and be an observer and see how it is out there. And be in the steady, still point, the still point around which all things spin. We want to be in that place. And I think the curious thing about Jesus was that Jesus looked like he knew how to do both of those. Display power and rest in the stillness. He knew both of those. So now one of the things I want to tell you is that being disturbed. Recently I was reading Christian Healing by Charles Fillmore, one of the co-founders of Unity. Charles Fillmore writes in there in chapter 2, I give you some affirmations to help make what I'm saying stick in your mind. And the first one up there is, I am the only Son of God. I was a little disturbed. I know it's true. Each of us are the only child of God. For there is only one child of God, all that is. It's the same way. This is how I interpret one hand clapping. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Everything you hear. There's only one. One hand, one son, one child. One. There's only one. But to say it out loud, to take that in, I am the only Son of God in whom He is well pleased. But it's big. It's a big jump for most of us, right? But maybe it's a jump we should practice. What the heck? We're already heretics. So we do it. We are the only Son of God in whom God is well pleased. And you will marvel. And you will marvel. And it says here, being disturbed, they will marvel, and they will reign over all. When you sit in the seat of authority, in the divine seat of who you really are, when you sit there, you reign over all. Either you do it as an observer or as the creator, or both. But you're moving from a different place. You're a different being. You're different not because you have added something, but generally you have just stopped being to Pete Sandstone and have become the whole Grand Canyon. And you have the 2 billion year old and the 225 million year old rocks or layers in you, and they are all working together. That's because you have come to know yourself as the self itself. That's our job here. So, it's a shift. It's a shift for all of us. I find myself drawn into the world, compelled by the world, checking my bank account. And it's one thing to check your bank account, it's another thing to obsess about your bank account, right? But this book is calling us to not just be that, but to not just be a human being, but to be the transcendent, the Christ. We're not here to be Christian so much as to be Christ. It's a tall order. But what the heck? What else are we going to do with our lives? Huh? Make $1 million? Maybe, but then what? Isn't it peace, love, and joy that we really long for? And $1 million is the way to get there. Let's just go straight there and collect $200. Okay, let us pray. It's a Ricky Byers song. I am more than this. I am more than this. All that's happening in your life, you are more than that. All you have remembered, all you have feared, you are more than that. All the good, all the bad, all the highs and lows, you are more than that. You are not your memories, nor your emotions. They are just the screen of the movie. You are the one that knows you have memories and emotions, that experiences memories and emotions. You are more than that. You are the one that created the universe. And to remember that, you have to surrender this small definition of self and boldly go where few people have ever been before, to the place of I am the one, child of God, beloved. Now you're not alone in that, but you are it. the one. The world is trying to tell you so. Sometimes with the carrot, sometimes with the stick. Let us awaken to our true nature and commit to the journey, to seeking until we find, to being willing to be changed by it, and to explore the beauties and the power of being there. And so it is. Amen. A couple of announcements.